All right, we are back for another episode of Backers Live. I'm Justin Fox from Backers. I'm going to go around, introduce everyone. We've got our guest of honor today, Brenda Jackson from Vertibles is going to be presenting. And then we've got our guest judges here. We've got MJ, we've got Adam, we've got Asif, Matt, and Joshua. All right, I'm going to go one by one. I'm going to introduce. So MJ, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, so I'm MJ. I run a digital marketing agency based in Vancouver. We work with clients all over Canada, mainly on service-based businesses. So and I started that about 4 years ago. So been going strong since then.
Cool. Awesome. Welcome to the show. We'll go around the table. So we'll jump over Brenda. Brenda will be the guest honor. You'll start pitching. We'll get into Joshua. Joshua, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Hi, I'm Joshua Dagg. I'm the founder and car club manager of Mutual Car Club. We're a neighbor-to-neighbor car sharing platform where we connect car owners with drivers to create long-term car sharing agreements. So it's a startup as well. Got connected with Justin because I think I'll eventually be someone in the competition. But for now, just happy to guest judge.
Cool. Awesome. Welcome. So we'll kind of round around the other way. We'll keep going sort of around the loop. We got Adam at the bottom. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So my name is Adam. I've got a company called Tension Consulting. We do user experience, product strategy, customer experience, and service design. We've been at this for about 3.5 years, and in total, I think I've been at it for about 30. So lots
of experience. Awesome. So welcome to the show. We'll keep looping around. We got Asif. Asif, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. So my name's Asif Khan, just very passionate, been in the world of sales for over 25 years. Just super excited to be working with Justin and definitely excited to be a part of this podcast here today.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. And last but not least, as far as the judges go, we've got Matt Wilkinson. Jump on.
Yep. Thanks, Justin. Hi, everyone. Matt Wilkinson, founder and CEO of eAgree. I've been in supply chain for 24 years, particularly in contract management and procurement. And we're launching eAgree in the next month, which is a safe and secure online community where buyers and sellers can complete electronic agreements and escrow payments.
Cool. Awesome. And we're helping build out the eAgree platform. So awesome. So obviously everyone's sort of connected loosely to backers in various ways. Some of you have even met each other, Adam and Matt as well in person. So we will jump right in to the guest of honor. I guess last but definitely not least, Brenda, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of jump into the pitch, and I'll sort of share the screen and we can kind of go from there.
Thanks, Justin. Nice to meet everybody in this environment. I'm the founder and CEO of Vertibles, a mushroom company that we're starting here in the North Shuswap. After a fire, we're rebuilding the community.
Perfect. So why don't we get into it? So welcome, obviously. So Brenda and Vertibles are currently raising on the Backers platform, so we can sort of jump in there. You can see their offering is currently live on Backers. So yeah, they are currently raising 100,000 of probably close to $1 million over the next year or so, but they're raising currently 100,000 for, I think it's 3.3% of the business. And so we'll jump into, why don't we get right into the deck there. Let me just scroll that down. So you can sort of see the terms of the deal. Brenda, why don't you jump in and introduce it while we kind of go through it, and then I'll sort of flip back and forth and produce the show. Go ahead. Tell me what you're in control. I've got the controls of the mouse here. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically what we've done is we've developed over the last 2.5 years a mushroom protein company. We did the initial startup, and now we're looking to expand into a larger platform and a larger community outreach so that people have sustainable food proteins in their area, since we know that there's a supply chain interruption right now and there is going to be more of that happening. So we want to be there and be prepared to meet those demands, which are steadily increasing, as we can see through the globalization of the world. The supply chain has been interrupted, and we're importing an awful lot of products from overseas, which we should stop doing and supply locally, which is less cost, less transportation, and environmentally, we're looking at being zero waste to do this biodiversified plant. So right now we're planning on scaling up. We are going to be looking at purchasing equipment to do the scaling up. We have proprietary equipment that allows us to scale up basically in 10 days or scale down in 10 days. Our revenue potential in the first year, once we are up and running, is about $1 million on the first year. We're looking at working with the local farmer markets, which is an untapped resource, and there's several.
Oh, it looks like Brenda kind of got disconnected there. Let's get her back in. You there? Are you kind of disconnected there? Oh, yeah, we're back in. Awesome. So why don't we quickly, yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, living in the mountains, we don't have the greatest.
The greatest. There you go, connectivity. Well, why don't you run through sort of just your background quickly on sort of Vertibles, and what the idea is, how you see kind of the mushroom opportunity. You mentioned it's a sustainable substitute, if you will, for proteins. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So I've got a very long background history of over 35 years in the Ontario industry of farm. I was a sow producer, so we were working with live animals. So I'm very used to working with live entities, which is mushrooms as well. And I'm very skilled at production. So right now we need to have a presence in the area, especially BC, that doesn't have a premium mushroom presence. It's more of a comini and button mushroom, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But we're looking more of a protein supply based with freeze-dried products. So in this process, we're looking at having zero waste. And I've just inherited 43 million acres of burnt substrate, just landed on my doorstep, which is actually going to propel us into better cost of production doing this. There's a rising demand, and we're going to meet that demand.
Perfect. So there's a demand, obviously, in the space. So why don't you touch a little bit on, obviously the problem is sort of food scarcity. Talk a little bit about what you're looking to kind of do with the business. Like what is the business plan, if you could sum it up in sort of a in a 1 minute, 2 minute elevator pitch?
So what we're looking to do is acquire more equipment to be more efficient. And then we're looking at raising the extra funds to scale up to robotics so that we have more precision and quality. And therefore, we're going to be able to produce a consistent quality for the markets out there. And we're going to fill that demand that currently is needed, but not being met whatsoever.
Okay. So let's kind of get into the deck here a little bit more. Is there anything you wanted to touch on specifically on the deck that you think is of interest sort of to people, or where should we go here? I mean, you can see there, obviously, the funding requirements. Do you want to sort of touch on that, maybe that slide that's on the screen there?
I don't see your screen. I just have a paper printout. So what?
Right. So it's the funding requirements page,
okay,
on the deck, seeking 100K to expand production. Yeah.
The 100K to start with will be for the equipment and overhead costs, because we need to be able to have a storage of freeze-dried mushrooms. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at the fresh mushroom market for the summer markets, and then freeze-dried because it's zero waste. And we are looking at the reasons for doing the freeze-drying is that there's no protein loss, no vitamins. We're going to be adding extra vitamin D so that we have 9 times the amount, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, which is very little cost to add. That's exclusive. Nobody else is doing that right now, which they could be doing. And then when the equipment is here, we're definitely going into the robotics as quick as possible so that we have zero waste of time. And the the expectation for the infrastructure here is already built in. We'll be able to go to the local markets. And with the amount of food waste that we've seen with fresh product, which is wonderful fresh if you're looking for carrots and things like that. But for mushrooms, freeze drying them gives them the same quality, the same proteins, basically, vitamins, minerals, etc. So therefore, any of these restaurants that are having large waste of products, we're going to be able to have that easy and acquirable instantly for them. They won't have to wait for their products.
Perfect. So let's touch on if anyone has any questions sort of throughout the process. We'll take questions at the end, but just kind of write them down, make note of them. So there's the team, obviously, yourself, your daughter, and Carol. So why don't you talk a little bit about the investment? Why would somebody want to invest in Vertibles? Maybe you mentioned sort of the projections at the beginning, but just sort of touch on your thoughts on the market, the volume of the market, where you see Vertibles going in the next couple, 1, 2, 3, 5 years kind of thing.
Well, right now society is changing and they're shifting to more consciousness of eating habits, and we're knowing that the supply chains are in danger. We've got empty shelves, and we know in our area after the fire, a lot of livestock producers have downsized or got out of it altogether. So therefore, there's going to be a need to inject protein sources all the way through this part of the Western world. Right now, Ontario supplies to the east, so nothing from the east comes west pretty much. It usually comes from Korea or China. And we've seen stopping of the large ships across the sea. They're not coming in as regular as they used to, and there's a supply chain problem there. So with us going into this market, we're going to be developing new markets. We're looking at different applications like feeding food banks, which buy at fair market value. There's the grocery chain stores, which are having a hard time getting in this fresh product. So once we set this up, we're going to be able to set up other facilities to do the exact same thing as we're going to be doing, and empower people and mentor people to go along with us through the first part of this setup. So as long as we set the way and set the stage for doing it and be successful, and looks like we are right now working with backers, that we're going to be able to move very quickly. So in a matter of about 45 days, we'll be up and able to start selling once the equipment's here.
So basically quick, ready to market. So I guess at that point, I'll kind of open it up to the crowd, if you will, to the audience here, the panel of judges. Does anyone have any questions? Want to jump in? Just kind of throw up your hand, and I'll kind of I'll let. Do we want to go around again in circles, or Matt? Okay, there you go, Matt. Go ahead.
So just got a quick question, Brenda. In terms of the space that you just mentioned, you inherited 43 acres. How many acres do you need to utilize initially?
0 acreage. We're starting with our 1,200 square foot brand new building. We're only going to be using 1/4 of the building, and that's 33% to produce 90,000 pounds of mushrooms in a year. And as I mentioned, within 10 days, we can scale up or we can scale down. And 0 waste of scaling up or scaling down. All of it's going to be freeze dried.
And just to kind of clarify, I think what Brenda meant by the 43 million acres was the fact that the forest fires basically ravaged through the northern BC, and the remnants of the fire are in essence what are used for growing mushrooms. So she can now be the source where they're going to basically dump all of this material into Vertibles or onto her property. So it's more. So yeah, talk a little bit. I guess let's clarify that point. Talk a little bit about how you're going to actually grow the mushrooms and what the plan is. Right? That's I think a key component.
So right now, everybody who grows mushrooms on wood and grain use bags and grow it out of a bag. So you have to have the mycelium set in place and create the root systems so that they have a fruiting ability for the mushrooms. So with the amount of burnt wood right out my back door, we can actually take it and acquire it for probably next to nothing, if not for 0 cost. We will then grind it up into the wood substrate. And then once we're done growing the mushrooms, that wood substrate is not spent. We can reuse it, part of it. And the other part we can do is constitute it again with living soil. And then we can add the living soil back to the burnt areas to then house tree planting ability so that the soil reheals itself.
And you'll be growing these indoors in indoor facilities, right? So it's
Yes.
year-round growth. I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to get at. It's a year-round growth in an indoor facility where right now they'll be up and running with 90,000 pounds within the first basically cycle, and it becomes an ongoing cycle, and then they can just keep expanding and growing from there, right? That's basically the premise, right? So
yes,
it's expandable. The size of land is minimal compared to the output of the crop, right? That's the I think the main component to this is that they will be growing it in enclosed environments, and early on they'll be able to produce a significant amount on an ongoing basis. You said yesterday, right, Brenda, daily, right? It'll almost be daily, weekly, like a new batch will be rolling out, right? Once you get up to speed.
yes, everything is daily. We do not want to have it where we're working weekends with livestock. We were 7 days a week, pretty much 24 hours a day with livestock. With mushrooms, we can control that a bit, and it won't be so exhausting for everybody who works in it. So when we have the mushrooms, we harvest them. We can put them into a chiller, then we can cut them and put them into the freezer, and from the freezer to the freeze dryer. So we basically have a 25-year life shelf life for these products. The reason you want to grow indoors is that growing outdoors, you've got weather to contend with, you've got humidity, you've got possible smoke, lack of light, and we're not wanting any of that. With as well, pests are huge in mushrooms because they're a decomposition material. So what we do inside, we control the atmosphere, we control the quality, and we control the consistency of what we're going to be able to sell. Nothing worse than having a customer base where you are trying to supply and you've got a crop failure. This is eliminating crop failure. And,
Right.
to be honest, after these fires, mushrooms grow quite well in the area. But do you want thousands of people tramping around everywhere in the woods trying to harvest mushrooms? We'd like to keep it contained and have that product available on the shelf at all times and in restaurants and every food venue.
Hi, Brenda. Question. So have you begun production yet?
We did a small test plot of production about 6 months ago, and it was showing us very promising results. Didn't have any difficulty with the startup part of it.
Okay. So as far as your actual cost of goods and your revenue from that, can you talk a bit about the test pod you did?
We just gave the product away to launch it to see how people would enjoy it and like it. It's in a small scale, and it wasn't substantial enough to keep it going. If we're looking for a steady customer base, we needed more equipment that would do the specialized substrate sterilization, which most people use steam, and we're not using steam.
I see. So as far as your target audience, your customers you see yourself selling to, I think you mentioned restaurants. Can you tell me a bit about your, how you plan to achieve that revenue projection? Is it $1 million in the first year?
Right. So right now there is about 16 local farm markets, which are untapped with mushrooms. There's nobody there doing that at this point. So we're going to tap into those. And I know from the area and talking to the vendors that sell other produce there, it's very lucrative. We have a huge influx of tourists in the area. That's step one. We also know that we have the ability to sell directly to food banks. They buy it at fair market value. They're already interested. And I've got some letters of other intent of people looking at buying shipping containers of ours to ship overseas if we want to as well. It's a huge market in Japan that we haven't even looked at. So locally, there's food trucks. There is a ton of grocery stores that are not carrying the products, as well as we're looking at tapping into the outdoor market where people are camping, hiking, and need to bring in products that's lightweight and supplies their protein source for what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And just last question, as far as just looking to understand the actual product, because you'd mentioned mushroom protein multiple times. So are you simply just growing and packaging, or is there a processing you're doing to the mushrooms as well? Like, what is the actual product I'd be holding in my hand if I bought it?
So we're looking at the high-end mushrooms like oyster. We're looking at just different ones. We haven't decided exactly what combination of ones we want to work with. We want to work with obviously the easiest and the most prolific genetics out there to have the stability. And the market's going to dictate to us a bit of what they actually like in flavor. So we'll have different areas that we'll be addressing for what they want and what they need. Just because we want it doesn't mean the public wants it, right?
Yeah, I think that would be very important for you. I eat mushrooms myself, but I've never bought freeze-dried mushrooms. It's never something I've thought to go out my way for. So I think understanding, what's going to sell to your target audience, to those farmer markets, or looking for those other revenue opportunities, or they're overseas, or selling wholesale, or however, that customer discovery is going to be very important for you. But yeah, thank you, Brenda.
The other thing people don't realize, when you eat a hamburger patty, it's 1,233 calories. If you add mushroom protein to it, it reduces it to 433 calories. And you're also saving pretty much 3/4 of the meat is usable in the next hamburger. So you'll be able to spread your most expensive cost over a longer area and giving people a healthier choice.
Very cool.
Cool. So I guess just touch on, just to clarify maybe Joshua's question there. So there's fresh and there's freeze dried. So it's a combination of both, right? I think just to correct Brenda, it's a combination of both, right?
Yes, combination of both. We want to start with the freeze dried to get the samples out to everybody in the local areas. And then when as soon as the spring markets open, we'll be having fresh at the local farmer markets. So we're going to hit 16 of those markets with people working with us. And it's not hard to sell 100 pounds at a time per market.
What do you know your revenue or profit per pound?
Well, that depends on a few items here, what happens next with our substrate strategy. And yeah, we do have the numbers down, but I really couldn't tell you because I can't open my computer right now to get those.
Well, yeah, that'll be important. But no, it sounds promising. Yeah, thank you, Brenda.
Cool. Does anyone else have questions? I think we lost Matt there briefly, but Adam, MJ, do you guys have any questions on sort of what, or Asif, any questions?
Well, just my question, Brenda, real quick, is just, I heard you talking about certain types of mushrooms. Now, with your company, is there sort of certain mushrooms you can grow and certain ones you can't, or is this just kind of you're picking what works best for the type of selling you're doing based on the environment you're in?
We're looking at growing any mushroom that has the substrate need of wood and grain. We're not really looking at the compost market yet, but that doesn't mean anything. I've also got 2 large greenhouses that we're looking at growing a specific mushroom, but it takes about 2 years to get those mushrooms growing. For example, right now in the Vancouver area, I've got people out that hunt mushrooms for sale, and we're looking at selling them for $17 a pound, but they're actually going about $23 a pound in the stores, as well as overseas is $35 US a pound.
Very cool. Thank you.
So that sort of stuff touches on. So it's a mushroom medley, right? It's a number of different mushrooms, different ways of growing them. I think touched on obviously the greenhouses, the indoor growing, the automation side. You talked about the robotics. It's more about automation and how you can start to expand the facilities and expand the output. Why don't you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah,
I'll ask questions. I know the answers, so I'll ask them a little bit just to guide it.
Very used to automation, and what we're finding is that we want to work less and acquire more product out of the same process. So if you have automation for harvesting and packing your substrate, then we've got more time to do marketing, and that's one of the biggest, I think, intricate part of any business is, do you have a customer to sell to? And right now, just as a farmer, I've got 7 billion customers out there. Everybody needs to eat. It's one of the 4 main essentials. And we just have a little bit more of a challenge getting people to understand that mushrooms do replace meat. In Europe through the war, it was a huge necessity to be able to supplement your diet. Not saying that there's war now, but at the same time frame, we're changing how we live. We want a superfood. We want to have basically mushrooms give you all that in a nutshell, pretty much, with your amino acids, your vitamins and minerals. And we're just looking to change a bit of people's belief system that we're going to meet the vegetarian, the vegans, and the meat eaters. We've got all three categories covered. And with the automation, we just want to have things less complicated and more easy of working with it. And people right now are having a hard time finding good employees. And sometimes your best employee is the machine, because it doesn't need sick days and it doesn't complain.
Yeah. We lost, I think we lost MJ there. Okay. Adam, did you want to jump in? Do you have a question or any thoughts, or you're on mute there?
Sorry about that. I had a couple trains go by earlier. So yeah, I think there's two things, and mostly around the marketing side of it, and perhaps like consumer perception. So you talked a little bit about meat versus mushroom in terms of a source of protein. How do you, in a world where we're dealing with like the Beyond Meats and all these meat alternatives, how do you promote mushrooms as a protein source when there are people that are just overloaded with alternate protein sources at the moment?
The alternative protein sources, and I know Justin's going to squirm at this one, is bugs. And I know there's an awful lot of pushback of the bug world. Particularly, I'm not interested in eating bugs, but I also know that my budget is not going to allow me to, as an ordinary person, where it's paying for rent and electricity costs and fuel costs, I'm not going to be able to stretch that dollar far enough with buying meat. And buying mushrooms just may get my family, just a little further along until my source of income comes in. So people are bombarded, but it's going to be really their pocketbook that's going to speak to us. And that's why we want the cost of production to get down with the robotics.
Okay.
So I think to that question, I think one of the points that's really being missed here is it's mushrooms. So I mean, Brenda, maybe speak to the mushroom market and the volumes that are currently being bought and distributed, and the projection of where that goes. Right? It's not just a meat replacement or meat substitute trying to go against the Beyond Meat. It's already a large market. Maybe talk to that a little bit, as to, the market that you're getting into and trying to penetrate.
Well, we're looking right now at the global market, and right now it's expected to grow from 63 billion in 2022 to 90.4 billion by 2028. That's a huge market, and that's an untapped market. When we've done the research, and I've drugged Justin through a whole bunch of the research, it's just not something that's out there. We're not actually very popular right now because people want to see psilocybin, or they want to see you eating a poison mushroom. And we want to match that enthusiasm with getting people not educated, but just understanding that, you've got to be able to diversify your diets these days. We may not have that opportunity. We're gluten-free as well, which helps a lot of people that have digestive issues or health issues. Yes, not everybody can eat meat and not everybody can eat mushrooms. People's choices are changing and growing to the, I don't like to say the Beyond Meat market, but we're just knowing that livestock producers are going to have issues. And that's just not going to be affordable. I mean, in Europe, I remember being there in the 1970s, and our family members over there really couldn't afford meat. And they were using other substitutes then as mushrooms and other protein sources just to be able to survive. So the climate of the world right now is shifting. And we want to be positioned to be in that shift where we are out there, we are recognized, we have a quality product, and we just want to excel in the growth. We want to expand. So this first step here is just getting the markets wet, and then we're going to push for an expansion to be the leaders in the western part of Canada. And if we can get into the US that's where we want to be.
Cool. So it's, I mean, yeah, the clear point here is that it's a mushroom farm, right? I want to kind of bring everyone into it. She has a farm that has other aspects to it. They have greenhouses. They need the equipment to essentially build out a mushroom farm in a space that has huge demand and is being significantly undersupplied, right? And there's huge long-term benefits to building out a food source here in Canada, locally grown, for our own, food scarcity issues that'll happen, as time goes on. But it's really about building out a farm. There's an opportunity with somebody who has the experience, the legacy of building out multiple farms throughout the years, to kind of step into this environment. So that's really the opportunity. The volumes are there. The production can be there with the equipment, and that's kind of, not to speak for Brenda, but that is kind of what the investment is looking for, to get the equipment, to create the product, to then fulfill the demand that exists.
So
Sorry, Matt. Yeah, you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just got a question. Sorry. So you've mentioned about protein, mushrooms being used as a protein substitute quite a bit throughout the presentation. As an example, though, per pound of lean beef, there would be 65 gram of protein, and the equivalent in mushrooms would only be sitting probably at around 12 to 15 grams. So just wondering, with the mushroom being only a fifth of the amount of protein equivalent from the meat, just how would that become a true substitute to meat?
Right. So if you're looking at eating a pound of meat per day, which is a pretty high amount of meat, you could be eating a pound of mushrooms. Yes, there's a different protein source for the availability of the mushrooms. Just like you said, 65% in meat, but you're not getting amino acids, you're not getting vitamins, you're not getting fiber. You're getting just a straight protein source. So right now, the mushroom protein source is in most of the sports drinks along with whey. So we're already having that introduced, but people aren't realizing that they are getting their protein. We don't need 65 grams of protein a day. I think it's about 12% protein a day. I can't remember it, and I have to find as soon as my computer opens up to remember the exact numbers.
Cool. Do you have any other questions, Matt? Or sorry, Josh? Do you had a question there?
No. I just need to head off, but yeah. Thank you,
right.
Brenda. I wish you the best.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I 100% agree that we need more locally sourced food production options in Canada, and I think it's great you're taking it on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we'll wrap it up quickly. Obviously, we've appreciate everyone's time here. Joshua had to bounce. Matt, appreciate your time. Adam, obviously, Asif, Brenda. Any final words to the people that are still on the show?
I guess I'm looking forward to seeing if there's any places that I can improve on. It's a little nerve-wracking doing this for the first time. It was easier yesterday than today.
Yeah.
Justin wasn't as tough.
No, not as tough. So it's all good. So okay, we'll yep. Oh, where do we bounce to a different view here? No, I appreciate you guys jumping on. The questions, I think, it's kind of what people are going to want to understand about an investment, right? That the whole idea here is that we're showcasing local, entrepreneurs that are trying to fill out or find an opportunity for them to prosper, and then obviously provide a product or service to the world. And so Brenda has a tremendous amount of experience. She's been able to successfully launch several farms in the past. Now has this opportunity with mushrooms, and so there's obviously there's a lot of different things that will come along the way. But right now, I guess Brenda, maybe we'll wrap it up with your final. Obviously you're looking for 100K for a percent of your business, right? And that 100K is going to get you off of the ground, right? That's basically going to get the business off of the ground where, you can now, start to produce the mushrooms. You see the terms there. You can start to produce the mushrooms and start to sell them into the market and start generating revenue. And as you mentioned, the projections are quite significant. We'll touch on that. Brenda, you wanted to say goodbye to everyone, and we'll head off.
Yeah, thank you all for being here and along this journey. It just makes it a lot more enrichment when we have different people's opinions, and you guys will be hopefully accepting my packages shipped to you so that you can be my taste testers and let me know what you think.
Definitely.
Cool.
Thank you, Brenda.
Awesome. And they'll be looking for investment. Obviously, that's if it's appropriate, right? Everyone else watching, obviously, Brenda's offering is live now on Backers. As you see here, you click the little Invest Now button. If it's suitable, you can obviously invest in Vertibles, which is short for vertically grown mushrooms. That was kind of the idea, right, around the Vertibles name, right? So
yeah,
vertically grown, which is another thing we can touch on another call. But everyone, appreciate it. For Backers, I'll sign off here. Everyone, thanks for joining me here on Backers Live. This is episode number 2, November 23rd. Stay tuned for the next episode. All right.